You ready to do this?
Hang on, I gotta show you this.
No, we're filming.
Really?
What's up, guys? Welcome to Merricks Garage. I'm here with my boy Duke, who you guys have met a few times on a bunch of different videos. Duke has a solid axle swapped 1500.
That's right.
He's also got that junkyard LQ4 that we tore apart. There's going to be getting some cool stuff. And this guy is a wealth of information when it comes to engines.
Trying to be.
You know. So, what is your? Just tell who you are. This is what your background is.
Duke. My background, I started in automotive probably, I don't know, man, late to mid 1990s. And then...
Wow, that's a long time ago.
Yeah, I know, I had to think about where it was, but yeah, probably late to mid 1990s. And I went to automotive school here in Santa Barbara, graduated with a degree, and then worked multiple shops for about 10 years.
Doing everything?
Yeah, actually everything. Specialized in computer and electrical diagnosis for the last part of it, but rebuilt muscle cars, rebuilt motors.
You had a 67 Camaro at one point.
67 Camaro, yeah.
Stroke 383.
It had multiple motors, but one of them was a 383.
The one that you had when we sold it.
No, the one I had when I sold it was a 377 cubic inch motor.
377.
So, yeah, stroke versus bore versus,
yeah.
you know, you could rev that thing to $8,000. It was awesome.
Seriously?
Oh, yeah.
It was a small block bored over and stroked? Or just...
So, smaller crank.
Yeah.
And larger bore.
Yeah.
So you can rev it higher.
Less throw, less bore, less stroke, but more bore?
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But based off like a 383 type stuff.
So, Duke and I met years and years ago in another life, and this guy was a diehard square body too. So,
you see my chicken legs?
Oh man, yeah, they're gonna be coming up nice and bright. I got the white lights on our quarantined bodies. But Duke, when I met him, had a 78 K20, and my Blazer was pretty much dying at that point. It wasn't running great. This was before madness ensued. But he helped get it back up on the road with the small block. You put in some heads.
We did a bunch of work to it. We did Vortec heads, aluminum intake, and then...
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, we did some work through throttle body, and then...
And then I proceeded to start breaking stuff on it. Because it wasn't my daily.
Whatever happened to your motor in your training?
I sold them.
Did you really?
Yeah, I sold them for $500 to a dude from Orange County. I know, I couldn't believe it. And I was I'm like, dude, well, it was 208, 700 R4, and small block. So, I mean, $500 for all that, that's not that bad.
Yeah, that's a good deal.
I mean...
I would have bought that.
That's a core.
No, it's a full
Well, no, I'm talking about like the core for the 700 if you needed one.
Oh, yeah, well.
You know, not that anyone needs cores on 700s anymore. But yeah, so this guy's had a ton of drugs. He's a square body guy. But he's got a Cherokee. He daily drives the 1500, and you've got a 35. Well, it's not a 3500.
It is 3500.
It is a 35. Holy cow! So this white 3500 that I'm going to show you guys coming up in a couple weeks here. But tonight, I figured let's get this guy over here. Him and I are just going to talk shop about making power out of the LS motor. As you guys know, there's tons of power available out of this motor. Everyone talks about it, cam intake, tuning, all that kind of thing. The reality is, from the factory, this thing comes so heavily detuned so as to make it emissions and 50-state friendly and carb compliant everywhere it needs to be. They basically choked it. So there's tons of things we can do, but tonight, Duke knows a ton about cams, flow rates, heads, valves, duration, and I asked him to give us a crash course in that stuff. So I'm hoping this is going to be pretty basic, but enough meat that we can sink our teeth into. And I'm learning with you guys too. But he's putting a cam in that LQ4. He's actually already done it. He just forgot to call me so I could film it. Yeah, I'm still bringing him up to speed on how social media works. He's kind of a caveman.
Total caveman.
But anyway, so tell us what cam and what heads. So you got the LQ4.
Yeah.
We stripped it down. Did you replace cam bearings?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, so in that motor, you know, we had that first original video, and people were like, "Oh man, it was beat up," you know, blah blah blah. Well, yeah, it had
answer some of that criticism.
So, junkyard motor, right? I build things on a budget. I don't have unlimited funds, unfortunately. I wish I did. I wouldn't be going to 6.0. I'd be going with like a 6.2 or something bigger than that, you know, or 7.0 liter. Anyways. The inside of the motor had a heavy oil varnish on them, and so when you get junkyard parts, if you are familiar with that, is you got to inspect them, take them apart, take a look at them. So I'm not really worried about the varnish. I'm worried about the bearings.
Now do you have to tear a motor down, or can you drop a pan and get a good read on it?
Oh, totally. Yeah, you can pull. Number one thing I do is pull a valve cover.
Okay, so here's a tip. This is what I want this for. So if you are shopping for an LS. I did a video years ago on what to look for, but in terms of you've got that motor, you've made this commitment, you want to see how much you're in for. Pull a valve cover, pull your oil pan, and look for what?
Anything. So you're gonna look for obviously that chocolate milk,
milky
right?
water.
Yeah, so that's indication of a head gasket, cracked block. You pull in that oil pan, and you see a big old thick thing of sludge. This motor did not have any sludge in the bottom of it, but it has varnish. So
varnish is just staining and oil deposits from heating and cooling cycles.
Yeah,
it's nothing to be really worried about.
Actually, not heating the oil up properly. So
really,
yeah. So the motor, So varnish comes from getting a motor not to operating temperature, and then letting it sit, and so the oil doesn't...
So a lot of short drives.
Yeah. And then not proper oil changes in IU, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Sludge usually comes from the longer period of...
Oil breakdown.
Yes, oil breakdown. So it turns almost back to crude.
Yeah.
Because you're not changing it, you're just continuing running.
And that can be really bad.
Oh, totally.
That's what leads to
and
oil journals clogged and all that.
Exactly. Varnish.
So you pulled it down. We saw the bearings in the last video. We saw the crank surface. He wanked about how bad it was, but that was just because he was trying to justify.
I actually called a friend of mine that I went to school with in automotive, and he works in a machine shop, and he was like, "Dude, don't be an idiot. Just put it together and run it." And I'm like, "All right, fine."
What did you want? Did you really want to hone the crank and?
I was gonna dump everything and just.
New crank, new pistons, new rods, new top end, everything?
Stroker, 412 or 408, maybe even... Who knows? My mind was going a million miles an hour until I started looking at the money. And I was like, you know what? Let's just slow down. Cam's $200.
Yeah, but then you're going to spend 4 times that on machine.
Yeah. So I went from mild to wild on all my cams and what I was going to do. But
so when you're doing a cam, lifters, all that stuff, you're going to see a bunch of numbers. There's going to be duration. There's going to be lobe separation angle. There's going to be lift. There's going to be all kinds of stuff. Let's go through that stuff.
Okay.
Stop focusing on your notes. You don't need your notes. Fly, grasshopper.
Oh, man. Okay. I'm just bummed out that I couldn't figure out that formula.
You just let down.
Thousands of you. You're going to delete all that shit, right?
No. I will delete any swearing, though.
Why don't you... Oh, really?
Yeah. Because I have kids watch it. Or I might just drop the volume down.
Yeah.
This was meant to be like a free-flowing conversation. And
I know. I totally got bummed out on my notes now. I'm trying to remember what I was going to do. Let's just...
Pull it out of the dive. Okay.
So...
Hit us with knowledge.
I got some knowledge.
Knowledge coming.
Just a little bit. So let's talk about the ultimate goal for everybody is to make more power in their LS.
More power, baby!
So it's super easy to do. We have a couple different formulas we're going to use, but we're going to not go super in-depth in them. We're going to keep it very basic and simple.
2 cavemen here.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So heads in a camshaft.
Okay.
Naturally aspirated. And you can range from anywhere from simple 70 plus horsepower all the way up to the hottest I've seen is about 100.
Out of just a cam.
Just a cam and heads. Yeah.
100 horsepower with just a cam and heads.
Yes.
Okay.
And those are like stock heads, right?
Just
with spring upgrades.
Okay.
And then a real high lift cam. So camshaft. Okay. Camshaft, long steel tube that they create that runs in the middle of the motor that operates the valves up and down. And how they do it is they have a pear-shaped, what's called a lobe, separated on intake and exhaust. And so you have a little, basically a roller rocker, a lifter, and a push rod. And so every time the cam spins around, it's timed in unison with the pistons going up and down. It will open or close the valve depending on where it is. So that's a camshaft. And
real quick side note here. GM got a lot of flack for coming out with a standard V8 single camshaft in the middle. This was the time when everyone was coming out with dual overhead cams, variable timing, and all this kind of stuff. The benefit of putting a cam up in your head is you've got direct cam to valve control.
Correct.
The downside is you have your timing mechanisms become a lot more stretched out because you've got to get the timing off the crank still, and you've now the cams on top of the engine. By running the cam in the middle, GM was actually able to make the motor shorter, which is one of the reasons the GM is a lot more compact than a V8 usually can be. But also, it was able to reduce complexity, which is one of the reasons these things last so long and why they respond so well.
Yeah.
So it's still traditional bump stick technology from like the 50s, but it's been refined over 75 years, and it's why we can get so much power out of it. So that's my quick...
Oh, definitely. Overhead cams, the geometry, when you look at it, is directly on top of the actual valve. So it's pushing them up and down every single time. Worked great.
Which most cars are coming out with now.
Yeah.
I mean, but
it's pretty awesome technology.
Yeah.
The one good thing about LS motors is, so small block Gen 1, right? The camshaft was closer to the crank in relative position to the cylinder heads and the actual pistons. So inside the block. So LS motor, the cam is higher in the block, allowing it to have a greater aptitude for lift duration, higher. You can run a bigger cam, basically.
Why?
It doesn't have the piston clearance, or I'm sorry, it doesn't have the...
It doesn't have to clear anything. There's
Yeah,
no tolerance
so
issues.
inside the block, picture a block, if you cut it in half or switch teased it or whatever the hell you want to do, excuse me, you would see...
Did you fart?
You would see the actual like cylinder walls. So that's what the piston would ride into. The cam on older ones was very close to the cylinder walls.
So if the lobes get too big, you
couldn't run a big cam in there. So they recognized that, and they moved the actual cam up inside the V, deeper inside, or actually top of the V, taller inside the V. So there's a lot more room. So they can make room for a bigger cam.
Now, didn't they change the geometry of like the push rod?
Push rods are changed a little bit, but not very much.
And that doesn't, okay.
Yeah, not. And then you'll have a lobe, and then you'll have a metal object called a lifter that would go up and down.
That was the hydraulic.
Up and down, and then a push rod would operate your rocker arm, which would operate
open and closing the valve.
So it's pretty rudimentary.
And when we're talking about lobes, you've got to think of it in a full 360-degree rotation. Mm-hmm. So a lobe that wasn't a lobe, if it was just a solid, continuous piece, that would have 100% duration. Meaning it would open that valve
360 times.
360 degrees. So there would be 100% duration. So what we talk about when we start talking about duration and all these various other attributes to the cam has to do with, as that lobe is spinning through this 360-degree circle, what activities happen at what degrees? Meaning from 90 degrees, it's opening the valve, or whatever that specific number might be. How high it's opening it. All these things. So that's kind of where we're going next. Prove me wrong.
Dude, spot on.
Boom!
So.
Oh no, don't touch me! COVID. Okay.
So you actually have your lobe separation angle, or basically think about, your 360-degree circle, and then your two pear-shaped lobes, and
one for intake, one for exhaust for cylinder number one.
Yep. And so they're going to be how far they are crossed over or how far apart they are is going to be your angle, right?
Meaning, as one lobe is opening my intake,
Yeah. So
the other one is closing my exhaust.
correct.
And how long that overlaps?
Correct. So at the peak points on each one of the lobes, and then that's measured from top of the lobe to the top of the other lobe. That's going to be your angle.
How far they're separated.
Yeah.
So if I see an LSA of 111, that means there's 111 degrees between top of exhaust and top of intake.
Right, on a 360 degree circle.
And so the closer we get those together, so if my LSA, or let's say further apart, as my LSA gets further apart, like 117 degrees, I have less chance of the cam having the valve, the intake open at the same time that the exhaust is open.
And there, on a naturally aspirated motor, you want a little bit of what we call exhaust scavenging, or you want a little bit of the overlap.
This has to do with like the negative pressure vacuum effect.
Totally. We can get into a side.
There's a whole rabbit hole to go down on whether you want it to close so you can make compression, or if you want more scavenging. Yeah.
So on a LS motor stock, right? So like an LQ4, LQ9, you want to run. Oh, I'm gonna throw a cam in, blah blah blah. So
what's I think factory's 112.
Yeah, factory's 112.
Or 116.
Hold on, I have it right here actually.
Sure you do. This
one.
So LSA. Lobe separation angle is what people are often drawn to, and myself included, because that is what gives you that lopey idle. What you're hearing when you hear that heavy lope on idle is the intake and exhaust events happening simultaneously. So you're getting, not combustion, but you're getting the combustion and exhaust events happening. They have more overlap than they would with a higher lobe separation angle. So that lope is often really cool, but what it means is you're pushing unburnt fuel, therefore power, out of the motor.
So 114 is there. Yeah.
Okay, so stock LSA, iron block LS, 114 degrees.
So we'll go, this is the stock LS LQ4 camshaft. So 114 degrees lobe separation angle.
Okay, so we've got LSA. What's the next number in there?
Valve lift intake is 0.457 and exhaust is 0.466.
Okay, back that up. What are we talking about when we talk about lift?
So lift is how high the actual lobe, when we talk about the lobe, that's that pear-shaped guy that pushes the lifter up and down and open and closes the valve. So how high that is, as far as
how far it pushes the valve
up, right? How high that lift is, or how far.
And is this number, when you're looking at a camera, do they give you the measurements over stock, or do they just give you the measurements?
This is just measured.
Okay,
so this is stock.
So a valve lift stock on the intake side is 0.457, and on the exhaust side is what?
466.
466. Okay, so you have a higher exhaust duration. Not duration. You've got more exhaust lift than you do intake lift.
Yeah, and that's typical with those motors because if you look at them, they want them to make low end torque.
Because that's where most people spend
2500 HD towing. So when they developed that 6-liter, it was in between the diesel, right, and what?
The 8.1.
Yeah, 8.1, which was kind of not a very good motor.
Yeah.
It was a good motor, but wasn't a good
motor.
So
by keeping the duration of the exhaust valve higher, you can create more low end torque, but you start to starve the motor as you move up in the power band. And this is where it all becomes part of you can't fix one problem without addressing another area, which is why you can't just throw in a cam with a high LSA and expect it to run properly. You have to understand how they all work together.
Or lift or duration. So we'll talk about duration.
So lift is our intake, duration. Lift is our intake. Is our intake and exhaust.
Right.
Duration is it measured in degrees or is it measured in
The duration's measured in its inches. I'm sorry, hang on.
So
It's
we're now onto the duration. So we have the lift, which is how far the valve travels up and down on exhaust and intake. We've got the lobe separation angle, which is how far the lobes from the top of the intake event to the top of the exhaust event, how far that's separated. Now we're moving on to the duration of the cam.
so you have an advertised and an actual. So most of the time they have a 0.050 inches, and that's going to be your actual duration.
And what is that measuring? 0.50. So
It's-
half an inch is they're measuring.
Oh no, it's 0.050. Sorry.
Oh, 0.05. Okay, so 5/10. Okay.
So it's how long. So picture, here's your lobe, right? So how long the lobe is staying open for, or how long the peak of the lobe is, right? So think of like an arrow point, right? That's going to have a really, really short duration because it's going to go up and it's going to close.
Whereas a big bowling ball is
So
going to have a
bowling ball is
long
going to have
duration.
a long duration. So how long that valve will stay open?
Whether you have a fast open, fast close,
Right.
or a slow open, slow close.
So close,
That's your duration.
That's your duration, right?
Okay, how does duration? I have a basic understanding of how intake lift and exhaust lift affect power. How does duration affect power?
So duration will be directly in proportionate to where it is where you're going to be seeing your power come in. So if you have a duration lower numbers,
Yeah.
it's going to affect the power lower, not higher.
Affect it how?
It'll be opening the cam. I'm sorry. So it'll be opening the valves longer at a lower RPM.
With a longer duration.
Longer duration. And then your lift will, so your duration and then your lift.
Those two,
only,
you can see how they start to intersect.
yeah, so the lift only opens the valve that percentage, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you have the two in combination, what you want is you want to match the duration with your RPM or your desired RPM.
Your power, where you want the power to hit.
Yeah. So the tough part is when you look at the motor, everybody wants your peak numbers and your peak power.
But no one spends time up there.
So you can get
Some
a
people
cam.
do.
So I'll give you a cam number for comp cams, and it makes peak power. Well, it makes power from 3,000 RPM all the way to 7,000 RPM. And that cam, just by itself and a little bit of head work, will get you 100 horsepower.
Yeah.
But it makes that 100 horsepower at 6,700 RPM.
Yeah, which...
So, but down below, you're losing power because the duration is set for a higher RPM. It's higher up.
Yeah, so your duration is shorter,
Yes.
which kills you when it's low down in the power band.
Right.
Okay, so what's the flip side of that? Having a long duration,
Yes.
does that kill you at the top end?
No, not necessarily. So you're gonna see. So I'll just throw up some numbers for two different cams, and you're gonna see a 30 to 40. I think the dyno was 38 horsepower and about. No, it was 40 horsepower and 30 torque
Out of...
between the two, and one is a low RPM cam, and one is a high RPM cam.
Okay, now,
So-
now how does all this affect... Sorry, finish what you're saying.
I was gonna say, so what you're seeing is one is giving up at the low end. That's your
It's
low.
falling on his face.
Right. That's the high RPM.
Yeah.
Right. It's giving it up at the low end, knowing that it's going to be race car status, and we're going to be screaming at 67
You got a
RPM.
4,000 stall in there.
Yeah, and that's all it's going to be doing. And then the other cam is saying, well, this guy, he's going to be most of the time between 2,000 and 6,500, maybe hit the red line every once in a while. And so he's going to be making his power in the middle, right?
So a cam that may not be spec'd on paper to appear like a
Correct.
dragon slayer
Correct.
might
Correct.
be an absolute fire-breathing monster in the
Correct.
power band that you drive around in.
Correct. So the cams, so the duration of the stock cam is 190
I still don't. I'm not grasping what that's measuring.
191
191
to 1. What is it? 191 to 207. I'm so. Electronics are so lame.
I told him to stick away from the notes. You know this stuff. You don't
I know.
Duke is working so hard right now on writing his notes up on the whiteboard, which you guys can't see right off camera, because he's so nervous about saying something wrong and you guys putting him on blast. So,
Dude, I freaking hate this.
He's totally stressing that he's going to say like one wrong number and you guys are going to jump down his throat.
That's not right.
And I'm trying to remind him that there isn't a bunch of cam engineers watching Merricks Garage intro video.
They're trolling us right now. They're going to jump my
you guys just be nice to him if he says something dumb. I'm going to replace a light real quick.
That's a good cam.
Yeah, I know, but they don't need to know about good cams right now. They need to understand. They need to be able to go buy their own based on information that you gave them.
I know, but they won't.
Don't tell them what they're gonna do.
Trust me, dude. They're gonna be like, "Hey, dude, what's that cam number?" You're gonna be like, "Oh, it's right here."
Okay, so getting back to where we were, we've talked about the lobe separation angle. We've talked about the lift. We've talked about the duration. Let's talk a little bit about how, because none of these exists alone. All of those that we just spoke about have an effect on one. So you may have a cam that has perfect duration and lift, but if the LSA is all cattywampus, then that thing's going to suck. And then you've got to consider what your application is. Are you towing? Are you looking for a drag car? Are you looking for a mud truck? What do you want?
Right.
So that's why there is no one-size-fits-all.
No.
There's only recommendations. But this guy knows a ton about it. He knows how to match them with heads, with injector size, and all that kind of stuff. So let's keep going down this rabbit hole. You've chosen a cam. You've actually put in your cam. You chose a Summit Stage 2 truck cam.
Yeah, so Summit, well, lots of great cam manufacturers. I mean,
and there's tons of guys who've done all this work for you. You can go to Brian Tooley or Texas Performance or any Texas Speed, and they've done all this better than we can.
And you could call them up. The one thing I gotta say is, if you do call up on manufacturers, you gotta be 100% honest with them about like tire size, what you do with your truck, where you're going with it, motor, blah blah blah.
We just want you guys to be informed so you understand the terminology and why it's important.
Because if you tell them that you got this fire-breathing dragon and they sell you a cam and you put it in Mom's station wagon and
station wagon's gonna be awesome.
Thing runs like absolute garbage, but sounds real good.
Not that any of us ever did that kind of stuff when we were younger.
So just be honest with them; they'll be able to help you out. But
so talk about the cam you chose.
So I chose a Summit Racing cams. They are ground off of a couple different manufacturers' specs. One being Cam Motion was, I guess, what they call the sloppy stage 2, and everybody throws around that terminology, sloppy stage 2. And what it means is it's got a wide duration. So that's
a rounded lobe.
Very rounded lobe. And that cam is going to stay open, or the valve is going to stay open longer, and the lift is not huge. But in comparison to your stock lift, it's quite large. So the Summit has a couple different stage 2s. And most people don't realize that until you actually look at some of the fine print, and they make a stage 2, which is the high lift cam. So it's part number 8720, 112 LSA, 218, 227 at 50 is the duration, and 600 lift. So it's going to be the best of both worlds.
Okay, hold on. We're looking off camera, but let me see if I can bring this in here. Hold on. Tell them a funny story about you.
Oh, dude, which one, man?
Tell them how you broke your truck in Pismo.
Which time?
The transmission.
Oh, God. Oh, man.
Great story, huh?
I can't even tell stories right now, man.
Okay. Cliff notes. This was back in the day. We went up to Pismo in Big Blue. He had a turbo 400 in it.
350.
Turbo 350, and
dear.
all we wanted to do was jump this thing, which it's a K20 solid axle, leaf sprung. It's not for jumping. And
It jumps, dude.
It did jump, and I'll try and upload a picture here so you can actually see it catching air because I still have a picture of it.
I got some great videos.
And then we destroyed the transmission in it, like way back in the middle of the dunes. Good times.
Oh yeah, that truck's been everywhere.
Hold on, I just gotta.
You know what's funny is that it takes a while for my memory to click in on some of those things. I don't know, has that happened to you or no?
I don't even know what to do with that.
Like, so you're talking about your old truck, and I'm like, yeah. I was like, which time?
Well, you're senile.
I'm almost there. But, okay, I'll tell you a cool story, though. So, I took the doors off this thing, right?
Big Blue?
Yeah. I should tell you a couple stories. I took the doors off this thing, and this thing was ripping. And this is right after I rebuilt the transmission, right?
Yeah.
And I think I did some more motor work. Oh, no. I matched the torque converter to the
Power
cam and the power band. That was huge back then. So I took off and I had a ratchet shifter and Detroit locker 488s, and I had 37s, and I did this big old burnout on a cliff drive, and I was smoking tires. Bank shift second, get second, start spinning tires in second. I can't control it, and no doors. So it's awesome. And I hit this curb. And the thing goes up on two wheels, dude. And I'm like looking at the ground, and then it comes back down. And
I've
then,
never done that.
Yeah. And I was like, oh god. Then I had to drive, and I parked it right. So the next day I'm driving on the freeway, and the thing's just like doing the Cabbage Patch down the road. And I had bent one of the steel rims.
By whacking it into the curb, it was
Yeah.
burnout?
Oh yeah, dude. It was
Heck yeah, dude.
bad. It was bad. And people were flagging me down on the highway. It was great.
You're like, no, it's supposed to be like that.
It's okay.
And we'll keep bringing stories like this. This is why I
Oh,
want to bring
yeah.
Duke in. We've had some good times together. Okay, so...
Takes a lot of access that part of the brain, you know.
I know, dude. Well, there's lots of crap floating around in here.
Oh, dude.
Okay,
so
so you can see the whiteboard that we put up here. So now Duke is going to be full on teaching.
that's Summit.
So, okay, so LQ4,
Sure.
duration 190 to 207 degrees at 0.05. This is what I'm not understanding still. What's the 0.05?
So they have. I was looking at a
You don't need to look
good
it up.
comp number
You-
for these guys.
No,
dude.
I want you to tell me what that 0.5
Okay.
is about.
So
All this stuff goes in the show notes at the bottom.
this is actual duration.
Hold on. All of the cams that Duke's talking about that he is so insistent in scribbling up on here are going to be listed down below, so you can just click on them.
I know you guys are gonna scroll through this whole video and be like, dude, what are those cams?
Technology.
Just tell me those cams.
Okay,
They're
stop
gonna be
cam
like-
at the duration. Go explain that.
So at duration, so at 50, so
At 50 what?
thousands lift.
Oh, okay.
So it takes in consideration of a couple things. Is the where every cam manufacturer is different.
How they measure this stuff?
Yes,
Oh,
and so
it's like shoe sizes?
yes, and so what? I can't remember the dude that did it, but the guy's absolutely brilliant. Kind of like FDA, Food Drug Administration, is like, dude, okay, we have to have a standard number that everybody can do, and
Everyone
instead of
commits
doing
to.
it at like base circle 0,
Yeah.
we're gonna do it at 50 thousandths lift.
Yeah.
So at 50 thousandths lift, or at 50 thousandths of when that lobe starts to rise,
So that's
is
talking
when the
about
duration starts.
when the lift has exceeded or has met
Yes.
50 thousandths of an inch, that's when the duration starts.
Correct.
So it doesn't start when it's only at 1,000ths.
Correct.
It doesn't end when it's at 1,000ths.
Correct.
The duration is always going to be at 50 thousandths of an inch lift from the valve seat.
Correct. So you'll see
That makes
advertised duration and actual duration. So always go off of actual duration. Look for the at 50.
Oh, so when they say advertised, that is their own
That's
measurement?
their own measurement. So
Wankers!
I know, right?
Who does that?
I don't know. It's like false. It's like fake boobs. It's false advertising, even though they look real good. So, now you see what's rattling around my brain all day long, dude. So-
Okay, continue before,
Okay, so
go down that rabbit hole.
Oh yeah,
Okay, lift. We've done lift.
we done duration.
TFS.
This is the. So
Oh, that's the
Trick Flow Specialties.
Yep.
So I was stuck between these two cams, and
sloppy second, Summit Stage 2 truck cam.
yeah,
Trick Flow Specialties truck cam, I assume.
yeah.
And
so,
both of these, your objective was what? Where did you want your power to hit?
So
Like
I want to
25?
buy. So I didn't want to buy a torque. So 4L80E torque converters are expensive.
Yeah.
Turbo 400, Turbo 350, man, a couple $100.
No, they're
big
like
deal.
600, 700.
Yeah, 4L80s are like a good 4L80 torque converter. The one that I wanted was like 700. I'm like,
We'll get into stall speeds in another video, but once again, you've got to match
yeah,
your
that
torque
has to
converter
do-
to your power band. Otherwise,
right.
you're never going to realize the potential that this cam has because you're going,
Right.
yeah, you're slipping too much.
So this is stock, like idle, like 800 RPM, all the way up to 5. Let's say 5. It's the stock motor is never going to make power past 5. It's pretty much done.
What? Dude, that's not even...
That's 800 RPM.
Are you
and
sure you're
5,000.
not left-handed?
Well, I'm riding like horizontally. This is tough, dude. I'm on a rolling around, really comfortable bench seat. I'm about to fall asleep, but this is Suburban. It's like a couch.
Okay, so
So-
Trick Flow Specialties.
This RPM band was 2,500 on up to
68 probably or something.
yeah, it's 68. So
68W.
yeah,
Continue.
this one was 22. Actually, no, this one was 2,000. That's
Which is
268. So the numbers, what you want to look at is look at the duration, right? See how low the numbers are here? And then as you're going up in duration, the numbers are going up, right? 218, 227, 190, 207. It's bumping your RPM range up. So you're getting an RPM band, so to speak, like a two-stroke, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what you want is to match that with your driving style, right?
And this is where he says, be realistic.
Be realistic.
Do
So-
not get a super Lobe cam if you're not running quarter miles.
No.
It's a waste.
You're gonna, and so people are doing this. They're buying these gnarly comp cams and gnarly, no offense, comp or Speedmaster or any of the companies. But what they're doing is they're buying these huge cams, looking for that big number. But that big number is
It's unattainable.
so far up your RPM range
Yeah.
that you're killing all your low RPM horsepower and torque.
Yeah, you're going from 130 miles an hour to 135 with this cam.
Yeah.
You're not going from 0 to 60.
And if you're building a race truck and you know you're going to run at between 4,000 and 6,000 RPM all day long, get one of these cams.
See, so for me, for looking at my LQ9, I've got a 6,500 pound truck. I'm going to need torque off the line. Now,
Yeah.
a stall speed is probably in my future, but my power band that I want to operate in is 2,000 and up.
Yeah.
I 1,800 and lower, that's great, but my truck's happy at 2,000. I want to be able to stab the throttle at 2,000 and have it respond.
And the reason we're talking about torque converters and duration is the RPM band. So if I ran a really, really big cam and I said, man, I want that extra 40 horsepower,
Yeah.
I have to match a torque converter that would start stalling out at the RPM that the cam made power.
And this is, I said it would be another video, but let's just give you a really quick. Your torque converter is a viscous coupling between
Yes.
your transmission and your engine that slips until
Dude, I like that. That's like
the
torque converter
slips.
fingers.
I know, torque converter fingers. It slips until it reaches a preset speed, and that is when it starts to. It doesn't. Does it lock up completely at that? Or do they start locking up?
They start locking up. So it's called stall. It starts to stall out your motor at that RPM.
And that's when you have a one-to-one. It's now
Very
a
close,
solid,
yeah.
Theoretically a solid coupling.
Manual guys, you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, you just slip your clutch and burn through them.
So you really want to pay attention to these, and I didn't want to have to spend a lot of money. So 2,000 is very, very close to the stock converter stall speed in our trucks.
What are they? 16?
They're advertised between 16 and 1,800.
Okay.
So I can get away with that. It's only 200 RPM. No big deal, right?
Yep.
This one, I'd have to probably put a converter in. Or just, I wouldn't have maximum efficiency out of that cam.
Which means there goes your torque.
Yeah.
There goes your low-end power.
Right.
If you're not able to get that power band until 2,500 RPM, what that means is you're a dog until you get there.
Yeah.
And then once you get there, it'll hit like a turbo hitting.
Oh, yeah, totally.
But up until that point,
You're not going to feel it.
you're not going to
So
feel
you're going to buy this $500 cam, you're going to put it in, and then you're going to be... Sorry, come on. You're going to buy this $500 cam, and you're going to put it in...
There goes Comp Cams as a sponsor. Thanks, Duke.
Sorry, bro. But you're going to buy that cam, and you're going to put it in, and you're going to be like, man, this thing sucks. And then when you hit the RPM range, you're going to be like, oh, man.
Yeah.
But you're not going to be in it until then. So,
I don't know about you, but I live my life a quarter mile at a time, brother.
Yeah. I'm never going back to Lompoc prison. Or is it Lompoc?
Lompoc.
Yeah, Lompoc.
He was local, though. He knew what it was called.
Oh, dude, totally.
Okay, so you've chosen this Summit cam. What's this one? 8720.
That's the part number.
For the Summit cam?
Yeah.
So this
I'll
has...
send you everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the power band for this Summit cam is 2,000 to 6,800. It's 112 plus 2. How does the LSA change?
So on the LQ4, if you're running as stock, they add a +2 built into the cam, so you don't have to degree the cam. You can run your stock timing set. So
okay.
older motors, or if you're running like a really gnarly cam, they want you to actually degree that and have an adjustable timing gear.
But you don't need to do that with an LS.
No, not some of these smaller cams.
Okay.
Yeah. So look at this. So look at... That's the dividing line, so I can actually see it.
Okay.
So look at the duration here versus here. It's
218 degrees.
versus 228, right? So this is
shorter
higher.
duration. What's the lift on these two? Oh, 0.5.
So this one's 0.585 and this one's 0.600.
Okay, so shorter duration, more lift.
Yep.
So if you remember what we talked about earlier, shorter duration means that door is opening and closing quicker, but for the actual event, the door is opening wider.
Yeah.
Which means at lower RPM, more air, and I assume with a shorter duration, you're going to get higher compression?
No, that has nothing to do with compression. Yeah, it's just...
I thought I was going to be smart for a second.
Most people actually do think about that stuff, but it has nothing to do with compression.
Scratch that.
Compression's all static. This is... So, I have a higher lift cam with a shorter duration at a larger RPM window than a higher duration cam.
What was the LSA on that one?
I think it was 113 actually.
Yeah. Okay.
So it was about the same.
So this cam is probably going to make peak horsepower higher.
Mm-hmm. This one will.
But this one will make
peak power lower.
Peak power lower. So you may, on paper, this one's going to look like a better performer. In the real world, and for what Duke's doing with it, this cam is the one that's actually going to deliver.
So you think about a truck, right? With 37s, 38s, 40s, let's just say 35, shit, who cares? Yeah. 35s. In low range, in first gear or in drive or whatever you're doing, manual trans, how many times do you wrap that thing out?
Every day, bro. Every day.
Dude, through the fucking mall. Through the mall over those curves, bro.
Yeah, on my way to get my orange mocha frappuccino.
Concrete jungle.
No, so that is.
So you're
be accurate to what you're gonna use.
Exactly.
It for.
So you're gonna be, if you're rock crawling, you're trailer riding 2,000. Maybe you're hitting a
if
gnarly
you're a 4 low, you're bouncing
grand,
up. Yeah.
You know.
But you're not living up here.
No, you're not.
And honestly, by the time that my motor's up here, I sure as heck don't want to be making power because I'm going to be heading towards a wall or a cliff or something.
Totally.
Okay, so
the Mickey D's, bro.
Torque. How is torque affected by this? We've talked about horsepower. I assume when we're talking power, you're talking horsepower.
Yeah. So
Don't get into formulas.
I know.
between-
I'm trying to explain.
He wants to start talking math.
Yeah, I do. I suck at math. That's what makes it really weird.
But here's
for
the
me
weird
to do
thing.
Motors. Yeah.
He's mostly a caveman, but when it comes to electronics and cams and flow rates, this guy is like he's like Rain Man.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like Rain Man, dude.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird.
I know. That's why I keep you around.
Thanks, bro. So these ones will make pretty much about the same power, just higher up in the RPM. The torque is going to be shifted. Horsepower and torque are going to be shifted, right? Obviously. These two, since their lift is the same, they're going to be about equal when it comes to... They're not going to be a total change as far as the torque. Like, if you're saying...
So torque is controlled through lift?
No.
You're saying because they're so close, the differential isn't going to be
right.
that much.
They're not going to be different. So when you get a cam with different numbers, right, on lift. So this one was intake, and this one was exhaust. So obviously this cam is stock, but it's going to make more torque because the lift is higher than
on the exhaust
than the intake.
So you are allowing more scavenging.
Yes. Yeah.
So you are creating more of a vacuum. You're pulling in more fuel.
Yeah. So let's just talk about motors per se for a second. And
engines. Motors are electrical.
Oh, okay. Engines. Okay. Four-stroke engines. Four-stroke engines.
People used to point that out to me and be like, I love this motor. And they're like, it's not electric, dude.
It's not Tesla.
So I'd punch those guys in the face.
So are you putting a Tesla motor in here?
Heck yeah.
Sweet.
One day.
Like,
one day I want to do something like that.
That's why you get a burp with all those batteries, dude.
True story. I was at Hammers a couple of years ago. They had a rock crawler that was electric.
Get out of here.
And it was fascinating. It had like these giant ropey battery cables going everywhere. Their biggest drawback is the batteries. They just couldn't. They couldn't create.
Yeah.
They couldn't get batteries that had enough power for long enough that still could put out the voltage and amperage they needed.
Dude, I'd give you $5 to lick one of those cables.
That's all he was thinking about when I was talking
Totally.
about. He was just thinking about licking cable.
You're like, man, I wonder if that thing would actually shock you. Well, it's DC, right? But no, they're pretty high voltage, aren't they?
No, they're still 12 volts.
They're still 12 volts, right?
Yeah, but they're probably pushing like 2,000 amps.
Oh.
It's not the voltage
donkey punch,
that kills.
man.
Wait, it's not the amperage that gets you, it's the voltage?
It's the voltage. No, it's the amperage.
Yeah, it's the
it's the
voltage
amperage
is the size of the water pipe.
That's right.
Amperage is the CFM.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Side note. Engines, four-stroke engines. So you take like a 5.3, smaller one, or a 4.8. You throw one of these cams in there. Like, actually, a 5.3 or 4.8 with this stock LQ4 cam is actually really solid.
Yeah.
Solid
this is a popular upgrade to the 5.3s.
Yeah. But if you put... What I'm getting at, basically, is the larger the displacement of the motor, 5.3, 6.0, 6.2, 7.0,
yeah.
the actual cubic inches or liters, if you want to go, English metric system. So the larger the motor, the more camshaft it's going to want. The more duration, the more duration, the more lift it's going to want. So if you put a smaller cam like this one in a smaller motor, in a larger or smaller motor, it's going to make really good power. You take this cam, put this in a 6.2 liter, it's going to make more torque than horsepower.
Because of
yeah. Because it wants more on the intake, it wants more duration, wants more lift on the intake.
Okay, before I lose you guys, because I know this has been a deep dive.
It was, dude.
There's a couple more things I do want to get into. We're going to do this again. This was just to kind of get his head on the video. In addition to all this stuff, you've chosen your cam. And we don't need to get into all the details now. I know you're going hunting in the morning, going to get up early and need your beauty rest.
I need to take a shower.
When do you need... So, rockers. You see people switching out to different rockers. Valve springs. People use different... And all this has... It all plays into these numbers. Valve springs when your RPM gets going up. But you can change your lifters. You can change your rockers. You can change your valve springs. You can change your push rods.
Yeah, let's talk about that real quick, and then well, actually, I wanted you after I put my cam in my engine.
Good job.
I was like, man, I don't have to do a video because we'll have to do proper valve train geometry, and we're
the
gonna
geometry between the lifters and the valves.
We're gonna talk about there's a valve spring, and here's your head, and there's the valve, and then here's a push rod going to the rocker arm, and here's the lifter, and then here's the camshaft.
Yep.
So this is all going up and down when that lobe goes across it. So we have to make sure that this is all lined up correctly, right? Spring and all that good junk.
Do these angles, are they supposed to be perfectly parallel?
No.
I guess they couldn't be real. Yeah,
they could on certain, but most of these are set from the factory. They're just fine with what we were going to be dealing with. The things that we want to make sure that we do is valve springs. The stock valve springs are absolutely garbage.
I swap valve springs out, and what you do is you go to a stiffer spring. It's once again, it's a trade-off. Stiffer spring means more work on the valve train, but when you get up into the higher speeds, the valve is actually still going to be functioning. You're not going to get like valve lift or float or anything like that.
Yeah.
So talk about the geometry real quick.
So when you change your camshaft,
of course,
want to make sure that number one
don't bind.
Yeah, so the binding is going to be on your spring. So
if you have a larger lift and you do not take that into consideration with your push rod, you got to bend your push rod.
Yeah, you can bend your push rod, and you can bind in here and bend valves and all kinds of stuff. But what you want to make sure is, number one, is you have a valve spring that's going to work with your cam.
Hey, real quick, Cliff Notes, this is another example of Merricks Garage absolutely screwing the pooch on an install. When I did the valve springs in my truck, I bent a push rod somehow. I don't know how.
Did?
I don't even remember how I caught it, but I got all the valve springs on, and I think I had a dead spring, or I had a spring that just wasn't, as I was turning the motor over by hand, I could see that it just wasn't falling and rising like the other ones or something, and I had bent my push rod. I think it was I was trying to seat another spring to get the valve off, and I hadn't got the valves, the retaining clip on properly.
Keepers, yeah.
And so, yeah, I bent the push rod.
Yeah, it happens. Small block Chevy I built a long time ago. It was a 406 race motor, and I had 1.7 rocker arms, and we'll talk about piston to valve clearance, which is going to be when the piston's at top dead center on which rim you have between the valve. This is awesome, dude. This motor was bitching too, and I over revved it for the valves, and the valves floated, and it kissed every single piston, the valve, and it bent.
Oh, because it just wasn't returning.
Yeah, so valve float is when the spring basically loses its retention, and the valve just doesn't.
The valve will just stay down in the chamber.
Yeah, it doesn't close. You want the valve to pop back up. That's why you want the spring to match the basically the lift of the cam, or the pounds per square inch.
Yeah.
And so I had valve float, and I had it revved up too high, and it 16 bitchin' 202 stainless steel valves that I did all this work to, and it kissed every single piston and bent them all up. I have them. I'll show them to you. They're so sweet.
I'll add pictures in of that.
Yeah. Oh man, that was a cool motor.
Do you want to end with a funny story?
Wasn't that a funny story?
No, that was a sad story. What's a funny story that we've done? Oh. Okay, this is a good one. So, Duke and I met through the Sheriff's Search and Rescue Team.
Yeah.
We were both members of the volunteer Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Search and Rescue Team, and this was back in early 2000s. And we got to do a lot of cool stuff. Santa Barbara had, and still does have, a ton of wilderness and a lot of mountain roads, and so we had car accidents, we had plane crashes, we had hang glider crashes, we had boat accidents, we had missing hikers, we had murders, so we had everything. And so Duke and I did a lot of this stuff together.
Yeah.
And we also had some four-wheel drives on the team that people really didn't know how to use. You know, it was just like we had these 4-wheel drives, and people would just assume like, oh, I just push 4-wheel drive and I'll never get stuck. And so Duke, myself, and one of our other buddies on the team decided that we needed to put on a search and rescue vehicle 4-wheel drive school.
Oh man,
Do you remember that?
Oh yeah.
And we had a H1, we had a
The Blazer.
we had a square body Blazer on that
1 tons.
we built this thing. We got 1 tons, got a Jasper 350 in it.
Yeah.
That thing was dialed. We had that. We had an H1.
4-inch lift, 35s.
It was perfect.
Yeah, the Hummer had 37s.
And then we had we had a square body Suburban.
Yeah.
And we took these things out, and we went and
we just thrashed them,
dude.
But we want to make sure that
train it. We want to know that these things
do what they can do.
I mean, you got to be responsible.
Gotta be responsible.
Lives are on the line.
Yeah. Dude, that Blazer had a Detroit locker in there.
Oh, I know. But anyway, we got to, and it was helpful because we were able to show people just like what these things can do. And
most people had no idea.
No, they didn't. I mean, with a locker, you know, they didn't realize like, okay, just you don't need to be throttling it. Just let it idle and it'll climb.
Let it do its thing.
Yeah, that was fun.
Oh man,
those were good times. I had a lot of good memories of that.
Oh yeah, we went to Gorman. Did you ever go to Gorman when we did that training?
No, I was up off west. I'll see if I can find. I have pictures, I think.
Yeah, we did Gorman too.
I'll throw pictures down below of that. Well, was this? Let me know in the notes below. This is.
Don't bash me too hard.
No, he's not sensitive. He can take it. This is a departure
Stop it.
from from my normal videos, but I thought it would be fun. I thought it's given the circumstances that we're all in this together, everyone's spending more time in front of the YouTubes.
Yeah.
I thought instead of me just talking, and I don't know enough about this to consider myself a viable speaker on the internet of how cams work. I'm learning because my objective is to understand everything, so I know if I'm being given good information or bad information.
Yeah. Hopefully it's good.
Yeah, and that's what I want for you guys. You know, I don't expect everyone to be ordering their own custom grinds, but if you have a working knowledge of why these things work.
Cams. Merricks Garage cams.
Ooh, maybe we do want you to be buying your own grinds.
Merricks Garage. Merricks Garage.
An MG iron grind.
Oh, God.
Well, the GoPro just died, so hopefully all that footage came through for you guys. We'll be doing this again. I'm going to put all the links down below for the cams, and Duke's going to send me over anything that he thinks might help. Ask questions, and make sure to go down and check the comments down below, because
we'll respond.
He'll respond, I'll respond, and
he
finally learned how to respond to comments. There's a ton of information down below in the comments section. I guarantee that there is someone watching this video who is going to respond and drop some serious knowledge. It happens every time. I'm super appreciative of you. I'm super appreciative of you guys who take the time to not only watch this, but to comment and to help all of us understand it. Please forgive us if we spoke incorrectly. It's late, we're tired. But that was fun, dude.
Hell yeah, man.
What are we going to talk about next time? Heads, flow?
Heads.
Fueling.
Fueling, yeah.
We can talk about fueling, injector rates, and intakes. Oh, there's so much. And then once we have all of these down, we can start putting them together. Because that's where it really, like, you start talking about timing and why you'd have to advance your timing for certain cams. All this plays together. But you kind of need to understand all the parts before you can start teasing them apart. Anyway, good stuff. Merricks Garage.
Yeah.
See ya.